A concern for the test section. Test section 406010 near Poteau, Oklahoma. This is about 2.4 miles east of the Poteau River Bridge. 1988. Out looking down the test section here, we're in a slight fill, and what I'll do now is do the panoramic view. I'll go in clockwise, go all the way around, and we'll go out and over and look at some of the materials to come out of the borehole. Getting the pan pasture land, you can see, I don't know how well it shows up on the camera, but back in the haze there's some mountains back in there. And back around, pick up some more larger ones back behind us. Okay, looking back on the test section, see the mountain back there, back towards Poteau to the west of us. You can see the borehole number 1 right back up here. Continue around to where we're looking north. And sweep back around facing east, which is the direction of survey that we have here. This is the results out of the core hole, and you can see the first foot of it is asphalt concrete. The top 2 inches is the overlay, and there is a layer of Petromat in there. Okay, David, go ahead and do the dropper. Okay.
Let's try this. Let me do it on the ground.
No, don't do it in his hand. See the sandy clay separate. Back off from it. Survey of the test section, a walkthrough on it. Moving from station 0. The predominant distress in here is transverse cracking, most of which is probably reflective cracking up through the old original pavement. The plans indicate an 1.5 inch overlay. The first borehole indicated about 2 inches with a Petromat or fabric layer placed down, a non-woven fabric that is, placed on the surface of the original pavement. We'll see what it looks like up here when we get to the next borehole. And up on station 1, another type of distress which I've noted is longitudinal cracking at both at the lane-to-lane joint as well as in the lane-to-shoulder joint. I'm going to pan over here slowly to show that. Okay, here's some that I had cataloged at moderate severity. The widths on it are getting into that category. It's low to moderate, I guess would be the most appropriate way of saying it. See, in this case where it meandered out away from the center line. This is a 1-lane roadway. This is the only one like this that we have located here in Oklahoma. We have a 12-foot wide lane and a 10-foot paved shoulder. It's a hot day out here. The thermometer in town was showing 100 and 101 degrees before we met over at the maintenance yard in Poteau. Feels every bit of it right now. The transverse cracks that I counted were mostly in the low severity level, and what I did was it indicates on the condition survey form to show how many cracks there were of whatever level of severity. And if a crack went all the way across the lane and was predominantly low, in other words, if it, majority low, then I would consider it all to be of low severity. I'll show an example of that right here. An example of the transverse cracking that we have seen here throughout this test section. I'll follow it on up across the lane. You can see we have some secondary cracking. If it was that predominantly, we'd probably consider it to be a moderate severity. However, Most of this crack is held pretty tightly together, and we'll go ahead and call the whole thing low severity just to avoid confusion on it. Observe the difference in the transverse crack widths in the shoulder as opposed to what's out in the lane. I don't know this, but it appears that in the shoulder that none of the fabric was placed, and the cracks are reflecting through and they are widening out quite a bit, whereas they're being held rather tightly together in the driving lane. Beautiful country around here. Doesn't appear to be any rutting. We haven't run the rut bar through here. We'll do that after we do the tape. Get an idea of how much we have and not rely upon just an eyeball version of it. Wider angle view here. Weren't coming up on the test section quite into the section quite so quickly. Yeah, I'll stop here and do another panorama of the whole area, then we'll go up and have a look at the other borehole. Very low fill. We're basically at grade in here. Panorama of the countryside. See the mountains back behind us. Looking back up over the test section. Sweeping around up to the north. Borehole, and you see we've got right about a foot of asphalt concrete. It's kind of hard to determine just where it ends down at the bottom of the hole, though. A little over on the right center part of the picture, you'll note some the fabric interlayer, and I measured approximately 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit more here, which is what was indicated on the candidate project selection data form. We'll step back and show the materials which came out of the hole in just a second. Okay, this is the asphalt concrete. This is from 0 to 6 inches here, 6 to 12 inches here. And we're getting into the subgrade, which was lime treated at least for 6 inches. And beyond that, we got down below 24 inches. We started encountering quite a bit of moisture in the subgrade. See there how real moist material in here. It's also moist back in the other one, feeling down in the hole there. And here's coming out of the bottom. This is classified as being a sandy clay soil, and it seems to be a reasonable description of the material that we have here. Turning back up. Looking back on the test section, I'll go ahead and turn it off and call this one complete for 406010.